Hello and welcome back to another alternate universe tour here on the channel. This time we're here on Isla Muerta. Now, this is going to be filmed in a very different way to the way the Masrani tour was done, because if you've watched the Masrani tour on my channel, then you'll know that it was done with subtitles and it was all filmed very like cinematically, etc, etc. But I wanted to try something different for this one, and this will probably be the format going forward. Which is just me sort of taking you through the park, explaining why I put certain things in certain places, the dinosaurs I picked, etc, etc. So let's get into it. So here's the view that you'd have if you was just coming off the monorail to Isla Muerta, and there are two monorails that you can take to different sides of the island. So if you was to take the monorail on the right, then that would take you further up the park to a couple of exhibits, and obviously you can see there just behind it is where we've got the operations section, which is where the ACU team are, the science and security centres, there's a couple of emergency bunkers for staff, etc. If you were to take the monorail on the left, as you'll be able to see going further up the park, you can get off at the resort where all the guests would stay, or you can carry on round to more exhibits, and you even get to see this exhibit at the start here too. There are also two viewing platforms that you'll be able to see right now, and guests can basically have their first look of a dinosaur before they go left or they go right. Now, with this being my tour, I'm going to say let's go right, because I think that you're better seeing the dinosaurs at this end of the park first, and then you would go down to the resort and you check into your hotel, and then you would go on to the rest of the park, etc, etc. Obviously there's a couple of facilities here. You've got the fast food restaurant and you've got the restroom, just in case you've just got off the monorail and you're feeling really hungry or you need to go to the toilet or anything like that. You can do that before you head off into the rest of the park. So let's get going on the right monorail. So as you'll be able to see, I'll just zoom out a little bit. It's obviously on Muerta, and Muerta is described as, it's quite a... I don't think it's not described as a rocky location, but I always sort of bear that in mind. I think it's because it's on the coast, I always think it should be quite a rocky sort of formation. So the monorail is quite steep up here. It's almost like a roller coaster ride, and it goes right to the edge of the map, and then we can just follow it around past these exhibits. Now I'm going to describe these exhibits on the way back rather than on the way there. So as I said, monorail comes around here, and obviously you get off here at the end, and obviously all this is all rock, so anywhere around sort of the hill area where we've just come across, it's all rock, and then you proceed further down into the actual park itself. Now if you were trying to get a look at absolutely everything, then from here I would say go right again before you check out this exhibit, because if you go right around here past all the trees, there is the island's Hammond Creation Lab, and this has got a very, very, very small holding area, so that any dinosaurs that are released can be placed in there and then they can be moved across the island. Now usually I make the Hammond Creation Lab the sort of holding area, I make it like its own exhibit. I did it on Masrani, I do it on a lot of parks where guests can come and look, and it's all very sort of, it's almost like a part of Jurassic World. But in this one I tried to keep it a bit more hidden, so guests can still come and look at this if they want to. As you can see there, it's accessible to the public, it's still an attraction of sorts, but I used all of the redwood trees to sort of hide that sort of way. If you came off the monorail and you came down that path, you would think, oh well, it's just trees over there, it's probably nothing over there, we're right near the end of the island. And then I also blocked off, as you can see from the Ankylosaur exhibit, I put trees around the fences and things like that, so it's quite well hidden in this park. And like I said, yeah, that's for good reason, because really I wanted it to be less of an attraction, more for just the staff. So here's our first exhibit on the tour, and it's the Ankylosaurs. So if you was to go here, they have this lovely sort of rocky formation with water on the top of it, and I thought that suited the ankylosaurs really well. It's also got the feeder right in the middle, so any time they want to eat or drink, it's all centered around this area so that the guests can see every little bit of it. Most of these ankylosaurs, I think I have about 6 of them. They've all got the same skin pattern pretty much, but this exhibit really, I think, suits them, because between the redwood trees and the rock, I don't know, I just think it suits the ankylosaurs really well. This might be my favourite exhibit on the whole of Muerta, and it's the first one, so yeah. But as you can see as well, like I said from before, that Hammond Creation Lab is still pretty well hidden from here. Like, even if you were looking through the viewing gallery, you could make it out, but only barely. And obviously, yeah, you just get to watch the ankylosaurs roam about their exhibit, have some food, have some water. And yeah, I think it's a really nice exhibit, to be honest. Now, moving away from this, we then have a couple of facilities behind us, which are the clothes shop, restaurant, and arcade, which I always suggest to people in like challenge mode, or you know, if you trying to unlock an achievement, or you're trying to just get your facility rating to 5 stars, these are the 3 best, because they cover every stat like adequately. But I just think they look really nice here, and all the pathing has been done so that it's all, you know, I mean, sometimes like you do have these little bits, like as you can see what I'm zooming in on, where it doesn't particularly do what you want it to do, but for the most part, like it's all done up very nicely. So there's a nice mix of like the fancy path and the normal path. And then behind these facilities, we've got another exhibit, which is the Carnotaurus. Oh, there's one right there roaring. And theirs is a fairly straightforward exhibit, to be fair. It's nothing too flashy. It's got a couple of rocks in the middle and things like that, but they don't have like, you know, any like grass or sort of like vivid coastal crag, anything like that. It's pretty much just straightforward. It's just a normal exhibit. And the good thing about this exhibit as well is that you've got a viewing gallery here, and you've also got a viewing gallery on the far side. So even though the sides are like covered with trees, most of the guests will be able to see from both sides. A carnivore feeder on this side, a carnivore feeder on that side. There are some rocks and things like that in the middle, and obviously when the dinosaurs come to drink, you're probably not going to be able to see them too well. But for the most part, I think that it's a very nice exhibit for the guests to look at. It's protected by electrical fencing, with it being the Carnotaurus. Now, they do have a low comfort threshold, but because there are 3 of them, I thought it was a bit more appropriate to have the electric fencing on. Now, usually the Carnotaurus obviously wouldn't be able to have 3 of them, but let's just say in this instance, maybe we've done something with the Doctor Who social sort of requirements, and we boosted it or something like that. Oh, were they about to... Oh, I thought they were about to start fighting them. So yeah, that's the Carnotaurus exhibit. Very straightforward, but I love the Carnotaurus. That's another one of my favourite dinosaurs. In fact, I think Muerta a little bit does have a lot of my like more favourite dinosaurs on. Oh, actually, I don't know. It might do. At least we've started with Carnotaurus and Ankylosaurus. Those 2 are both my favourite. 2 of my favourites. And then behind here we've got just like a restroom, just in case any guests are sort of like lagging at this point and they need to go to the toilet, because it has been a while since they've had the chance to at the first monorail. And then we've got the next exhibit, and the next exhibit is probably I said the Ankylosaur was my favourite exhibit. I think this one rivals it. They're very close, because this one's a really nice exhibit too. It's got a lot of variation in it. This one is filled with Deinonychus, and they've got a very nice pattern on them. I admittedly can't remember what the pattern is right now, so I'll have a look later on, but yeah, it's a lovely kind of like green, and I think it suits the dusk on Muerta really well, and I think it suits their exhibit really well as well. They've got a nice mix, you know, they've got like a little drinking area down here so that the guests can see them from this viewing gallery, and they've got the carnivore feeder down here, and it's kind of like a mix. It's like a dirty beach sort of, like it's got a mix of dirt and sand. Obviously there's still forest and things like that. And then more redwood trees. We do like them on this island. Obviously the hill comes down and it's very rocky, and I've put a lot of rocks on there as well, so it's kind of like, if you were looking into this exhibit, I would imagine if this was real, you would be seeing the Deinonychus dart in and out of the rocks and things like that. So yeah, that's why I chose to do that. And then there's another viewing, I think it's a viewing gallery, but it's not called that. But anyway, it's the tall one, and that one obviously can look down the hill, which is really nice too. So that's the Deinonychus exhibit, again protected by electric fencing because, yeah, there's a lot of Deinonychus, and you know they're a little bit notorious for breaking out. And then just over the edge of this, we've got the operations facilities. So as I mentioned, we've got the ECU team, which are nice. They're kind of like nicely put in the middle so that they can respond to threats all around the park. The security centre directly opposite them, so they can help out with, you know, like liaise with them if they need anything. The science centre, which I always put the science centre near the smaller carnivores like Deinonychus and Velociraptors, because I always think, like, you know, they'd be trying to study them and figure out what makes them tick. And then we've also got a couple of emergency bunkers for staff, primarily for staff, not for guests. This part of the park, again, is accessible to guests if they want it to be, but for the most part I wouldn't expect many people to come down here because, as you can see, there's nothing else here now. Like, once you've been in the Deinonychus exhibit, it's sort of geared towards going back down to catch the monorail. You can't access the beginning of the park through here, so you have to go back down to the monorail that you came down at. Now, that's the first half of the park complete. So now we move over to if we were going on the left monorail. And I think before we do go on the left monorail, we're just going to take a quick look at this exhibit. So obviously we've got the two, I still can't remember the name of them. I think they're a viewing gallery of kind, but I can't remember what the actual name is, which is just brilliant. As you can see, it's a very nice grassy exhibit. It's got a few trees and stuff, and again it kind of works with that theme of Muerta, with the sort of like the rocky hill kind of vibe going on. There's a lot of sort of, not cliffs, but Muerta kind of goes like steadily downhill, because you have this hill here going down into like a lower part of the park, and then it goes down again after the resort, which you'll see in a little bit. So there's a lot of ups and downs on Muerta. This exhibit is filled with Diplodocus, Camarasaurus and Ceratosaurus, so there's a nice mix there. The carnivores obviously aren't going to bother with the herbivores aren't going to bother with the carnivores, and it's especially nice because I think between Ceratosaurus being a large carnivore and the sauropods, you get a lovely view of them from the hotels, which we'll have a look at when we get to the resort, but you also get a lovely view of them from the monorail and from those aforementioned viewing galleries over here. So that's everything on that exhibit. So now let's make our way to this monorail, and we'll act as though we're going down here. So as you can see, got a lovely view of the park there if we were going on the monorail, and we would then arrive at the resort. And the really good thing about the resort, I think, is that not only is obviously I think it looks brilliant. You know, it's like a proper resort because it's got the beach, etc. But it's also very interactive with this exhibit itself. Like, obviously it's got the fence there, so if you was taking a walk along this fancy path, or you was sitting at the gift shop or anything like that, like, you could look out and see all the dinosaurs. If you pay for one of the more expensive hotels, which is these two on the far side, you'll be able to see the dinosaurs too. And then obviously this one here, these two here, you can still see them, but it is a little bit further away. So yeah, I really like how it all blends nicely and just works with this exhibit. Down here we've just got a selection of like pretty much all the different facilities. So we've got a gift shop and a clothes shop on the end here. Then if we go around towards the hotels, we've got an arcade and we've got a bowling alley. And then we've also got restroom there and a restaurant. Now I've only put one restroom in because in my mind every facility has a restroom to it. Like, a restaurant has toilets in it. You know, I know it doesn't for the sake of the game mechanics, but like for me, if I went to a normal zoo in real life, the restaurants would have toilets in them. The hotels would obviously have toilets in them. People's rooms would have toilets in them. So, do you know what I mean? I've only put one in because of that reason. And then it's just another sort of like cliff down to the sea. But what I've done here is, so I've obviously fenced all this off, but this is a bar, so the guests can actually sit. If we just turn our camera around here. Oh, wrong way. If you're a guest, you're looking out and you can see the monorail, you can see the sea, the lovely beach. So yeah, I just think that's a really nice sort of place to put the bar, and they can just look out over the sea. And then yeah, that's pretty much it for this area. I also did put a sort of like a pool out back, but it's not really a pool. It's more just like a beach. And if you purchase this, you know, if you purchase a ticket in this hotel, or a room in this hotel even, then you can go out back with like your kids and stuff, and they can all just, like, everyone can just play in the pool and enjoy the holiday, kind of like a normal beach, because obviously you can't access the normal beach because of the fencing around here, and obviously it would be dangerous to go running down this, what is essentially a cliff, to get to the beach, like the real beach. So yeah, obviously it's a dinosaur park, so we have to be more careful. People can't just roam about the island as they wish. So that's the resort area. And then if you was to continue on the monorail, like I said, you would go round to the end. So you can't just walk down from the resort. The resort is very isolated. You can't walk to it, you can't get to it unless you take the monorail. So, you know, I just thought that was best because of the way the environment looks and the fact that you can't, you know, it's the resort was built on what is essentially a cliff. Yeah, you can't get to it any other way. So if it was me personally, I would now get off the monorail here, and that would allow me to see this exhibit and then go and see the exhibits further behind me. So you've got the likes of, you've got like a restaurant here, an emergency bunker for the guests, another restroom, and a couple of more of these viewing galleries that I can't remember the name of. Now this is a doubly protected area because obviously, as you can see, you've got two lots of fencing, basically separating you and the dinosaurs, pretty much anyway. Now the reasoning for this is I didn't want guests to, I didn't want to put the fencing for the gigas there. I didn't want it to, sorry, where the far side fencing is, like at the bottom of the hill, I didn't want to just have it there, because then guests could potentially, you know, walk down the hill. I know they couldn't because the game doesn't allow for it, but again, if I was going off real life, people can be stupid and just wander off to places they shouldn't be wandering to. So in my mind, I was like, no, you've got to put another fence there so that the guests don't walk down and injure themselves, and then we've got a lawsuit on our hands. So that's why there's two lots of fencing. And also, I didn't want to just have the fencing on the left-hand side where the viewing galleries are, because I figured the gigas would come too close then and you wouldn't be able to see them properly if you was looking out of the viewing gallery. But also it serves as double protection. Now, yeah, so this is essentially what I would call Giga Hill. And it is quite a big exhibit. Obviously, it's got this like forested area over here. But the idea is you can catch the monorail and see the gigas, or you can look through the viewing galleries and see the gigas. And there's this huge hill, with it being Muerta, it fits with the theme of the park really well. This huge hill. There are goats roaming everywhere for the gigas to hunt if they want to. There's these carnivore feeders that are around which the gigas can eat from if they want to. And yeah, there are two of them. They are just in the natural skin pattern, I'm pretty sure they are. Because I just thought they looked nice like that, especially with the dusk on Muerta. I thought that kind of fit them very well. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the gigas. There's not too much else to say about them or their exhibit. I just think it's a really nice exhibit, because not only do you get to see them now through these sort of like viewing galleries and stuff, but if you got off the monorail here, I wouldn't get back on the monorail. I would walk down here and then when you come back up later on the left-hand monorail, you would see them again, but you'd see them from a different point of view. So I always like that. So now we're moving down here. We've got 2 exhibits on our right, and one of these is the Kentrosaurs. So I didn't go for a Stegosaur just yet, I went for the Kentrosaurs, and I think they look really, really nice, especially the ones in the coastal pattern. I'm pretty sure one of them's a lighter pattern, but then the coastal one, which is the one closest to us, I think looks really, really good. Again, I think it suits Muerta pretty well in the dusk because of like the sort of skin, the colour of the spines on its back, the plates, etc. Yeah, and they've just got another nice exhibit. More redwood trees and a lot of grass. You know, their exhibit is a lot more grassy than certainly a lot of the other ones. We've got more rocks to suit Muerta's theme. And yeah, you've got the monorail in the background, so again, you'll be able to see these on the way down. Probably not that well, so that's why the viewing galleries are here, and obviously these are a lot easier to view than the Gigas are, or than they would be on the monorail, etc. So it's nice to be able to come here and just see them properly. If we look just behind us, we've got the restroom, bowling alley, arcade, we've got a clothes shop on the end, so we've got a lot of stuff that's just kind of like a bit of fun, really. Not necessarily anything for food, just fun. Then over here we've got the Pachycephalosaurus, and there are quite a lot of these. So again, you probably won't be able to see them that well on the monorail, even though there's a lot of them, because of their skin pattern. That I think they kind of blend in a little bit sometimes, especially when you're looking from a height such as from the monorail, with it being as big as it is. Very similar to the Kentrosaurus exhibit, more redwood trees, got a little lake there over there, more rocks, etc, etc. Very grassy kind of area, and that's sort of because they're right next to each other, so I kind of wanted it to feel like a natural transition, or kind of like they're almost in the same exhibit, even though there's a fence separating them. As a guest, you would look and maybe feel like you were looking at the same kind of exhibit, especially because they're right next to each other. So yeah, that's the Pachycephalosaurs, and that's pretty much it for dinosaurs. The only thing I've got left on the tour is this ranger station over here, and what I did was I built this sort of I don't know what you would call it, kind of like an off-road course. And the idea of it was, obviously, as a Jurassic World ranger staff, a member of the ranger team, you would have to be, very adept at driving over different terrains. In sort of like, as you can see, like it's very twisty and turny. You'd have to be very good at that. You'd have to be able to maybe the person in the back would have to be good, adept at shooting, etc. So the idea is that guests can go on sort of like not like a tour, but they can go on a ride along sort of thing with a ranger, member of the ranger team, and they can sort of show them how challenging their job can be, so that they can show them like how bumpy it is, or how it can be, how quick they have to be with the reactions, because obviously they're working with live animals, and especially these live animals are dinosaurs. And then if there's any guests in the back, they can see how hard it is for the person in the back to sort of like keep their aim straight and steady when the person in the front is trying to drive and keep them away from the dinosaurs. So I thought that was a nice idea. It could even be extended if people wanted to have it like as like a if you can drive around the ranger course in a certain time, then you might win a free ticket to the next island, which is Isla Muerta. So that kind of thing. Like, I thought that was like a nice little way of incorporating a operations building into a different aspect. So it's not just a ranger building. This time it is a ranger building, but it's also there as like a guest function. It's kind of like a bit of entertainment for the guests, or just a bit of education for the guests into how Jurassic World works. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. From here, you can get back on the monorail if you'd like to. And if you do get back on the monorail, then it'll take you, as I promised, I'll go back around here. It'll take you back around the sort of the place we've just been, up to Giga Hill. So we're going to follow this around. And here we go, we're going past Giga Hill now. Now obviously the monorail will probably be a little bit slower than this, but you can catch a lovely view of the Gigas, just like stomping around the hill, hunting the goats, etc, etc. It's a very unimpeded sort of exhibit, so it's very easy to catch a look of them without, you know, without trees being in the way or terrain, etc, etc. And then we would come back around here, and then here's the previous station. We'd go back over this to the I believe this is the Kentrosaur exhibit, isn't it? Yep, this is the Kentrosaur exhibit. And like I said, it is difficult to catch a look of these because you're going back by so quickly, but there's some. I know I'm going very high now, so we're almost not on the monorail, but I'm just giving a different perspective. And then the Pachycephalosaurus are on this side, and again, they are difficult to spot from the monorail, as you can see. Like, I'm going slower than the monorail would be, and that is difficult to see them, but they're still nice. And then yeah, you would, oh, wrong way, it's like the monorail crashed. Yeah, you would come up here, and then the monorail will drop you off at the resort if you're still staying for a little while longer, and if not, you would come back up here. You get another opportunity to have a look at the Camarasaurs and the Ceratosaurus, etc, etc. Really like the Ceratosaurus' sort of like darker skin tones on this island, because again, suits Muerta really well, I think. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. You would end up here, back at the start, and that would be it for your time on Isla Muerta. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, if you have watched for this long. Please let me know what you thought of the tour, if you liked the look of the island. And let me know if you liked the format as well, because I can do them like this again if people would like me to. Or I can try and do them a little bit more cinematically, or I can even just sort of do them where it's not all in photography mode, it's just in the base game sort of thing, and I can like zoom in a little bit better, and etc, etc. And let me know if you liked the tour. You know, if you liked the way I built the island, that would be great too. And that's everything from me. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you later. This is the Fossil Fool signing out.